Good morning, students. Today we'll study History Chapter 9, The Making of Regional Cultures. India diverse regional languages and various festivals, different dance form and music, dresses and food items evolved into Middle Age in this lesson. Some of the historical process in regional cultures of India. We understand as regional cultures today are often the product of complex process of intermixing of local tradition with ideas from other parts of the subcontinent. The Cheras and the development of Malayalam. The Chera dynasty. The Chera kingdom of Mahodayapuram was established in the 9th century in the southwestern part of the peninsula, part of the present day Kerala. It is likely that Malayalam was spoken in this area. It was introduced the Malayalam language and script in the inscriptions. In fact, this is one of the earliest examples of the regional languages in official records in the subcontinent. At the same time, Chera also ran upon Sanskrit traditions. The temple theatre of Kerala, which is traded to this period, borrowed the stories from Sanskrit epics. The first literary works in Malayalam dated to about the 12th century and directly indebted to Sanskrit. Interesting the Enophia 14th century text, the Leela Tilakam, dealing with grammar and poetics, was composed in Maniparvalam, literally diamonds and corals, referring to the two languages Sanskrit and the regional languages. Religious worship in Orisha and Odisha. The regional cultures grow around the religious tradition. The best example of the process is the cult of Jagannatha, literally the Lord of the world, of name for Vishnu. Yeah, Puri, Orisha. Today, the local tribal people make the wooden image of the deity, which suggests that the deity was originally a local god who was the later identified with Vishnu. In the 12th century, one of the most important rulers of Ganga dynasty, Anandavarman, decided to erect a temple for Purushottama Jagannatha at Puri, the kingdom to the deity, and proclaimed himself as the deputy of the god. As the temple gained in importance as a center of pilgrimage, its authority in social and political matters also increased. In the 9th century, regions and constitute most of the present-day Rajasthan. A Kathak dance from North India. Kathak now associated with several parts of North India. The term Kathak is derived from Katha, a word used Sanskrit and other languages for story. The Kathak were originally a caste of storytellers in temples of North India who embellished their performance with gestures and songs. Kathak began evolving into a distinct mode of dance in 15th and 16th centuries with the spread of the Bhakti movement. The legends of Radha Krishna were enacted in folk places called Rasa Leela, which combined folk dance with the basic gestures of the Kathak storytellers. Kathak was performed in the court where it acquired its present features and developed into a form of dance with the distinctive style. Subsequently, it developed into true traditions or kagnas one in the courts of Rajasthan, Jaipur, and other in Lucknow, under the patronage of Wajid and Shah in the last Nawab Hawat. It grew into the major art of form. The Rajput tradition of heroism. The making regional cultures, Kathak, Kerala. The Rajput tradition of heroism. In the 19th century, the region that constitutes most present day Rajasthan. It means Majajaks, that is, was an area that was inhabited only or mainly by Rajputs. This is only partly true. There were several groups who identify themselves as Rajputs in many areas of northern and the central India. And of course, there are several peoples other than Rajputs who live in Rajasthan. The stories about Rajput heroes were recorded in poems and songs. They were recited by specifically trained minstrels. They preserved the memories of heroes and were expected to inspire others follow these examples. The loyalty and friendship, love, valor, anger, and etc. Women are also depicted the following their heroic husbands in both life and death. There are stories about the practice of sati or immolation of the widows and funeral pair of husbands. Paintings. The another tradition that developed in different ways was at miniature painting. Miniature, as the very name suggests, are small sized paintings, generally done in watercolor and cloth or paper. The earliest miniatures were on palm leaves or wood. Some of the most beautiful of these, found in western India, were used to illustrate the Jaina text. The Mughal emperors Akbar, Jahangir, and Shah Jahan patronized highly skilled painters who primarily illustrated manuscripts containing the historical accounts and poetry. These were generally painted in brilliant colors and portrayed court, skin, scenes, battle on hunting and other aspects of social life. The another region that attracted the miniature paintings was the Himalayan foothills around the modern day state of Himachal Pradesh. By the late 7th century, these regions had developed the bold and intense style of miniature paintings called Pasholi. The most popular text to be painted here was Bamtuta Rasa Manjari. Here the found ready patterns which led to the founding of the Gangra school of painting by the mid 18th century. The Gangra artists developed a style which breathed a new spirit into miniature paintings. The sources of inspiration was the tradition, soft colors including cool blues and greens, and the lyrical treatment of these disguised Gangra paintings. Developments in medieval Bengal. We often tend to identify regions in terms of the language spoken by the people. So we assume that people in Bengal always spoke Bengali. However, what is interesting is that while Bengali is now recognized as their language derived from Sanskrit, early Sanskrit text suggests that the people of Bengal did not speak the Sanskrit languages. The 14th century, the commercial days began to develop between the Bengal and Magadha, which may have led to the growing influence of Sanskrit. During the 14th century, and Bengali established the political control over North Bengal and began to settle Brahmanas in this area. The 18th century, Bengal became the center of regional kingdom under the Pahlavis. Between the 14th and 16th century, Bengal was ruled by sultans who were independent of the rulers in Delhi. In 1586, when Akbar conquered the Bengal, it formed the nucleus Bengali Suba. While Persian was the language administrations and Saitanya, the leader of the Vaishnava Bhakti movements. Bengali architecture. From the 16th century, people began to migrate in large number from the less fertile western Bengal to the forested and marshy areas of southeastern Bengal, and they moved eastwards the cleared forest and brought the land under the rice cultivation. Gradually, the local communicates the fisher folk and shifting the cultivators. The yearly settled showed some orders and assurance in the unstable condition of the new settlements. These were provided the community leaders who also functioned the supernatural powers. The cult of peers become very popular and the shrines can be found everywhere in Bengal. And temples began copy to the double roofed thatcha, four roofed structures of the thatched huts. The Bengal tomb in this led to the evolution of the typical Bengal style. The Krishna with gopis terracotta plaque from the Shyam Maria temple, Vishnupur. Fish in Bengali culture. The tradition food habits are generally based on locally available items of food. Bengal is riverine plain which products plenty of rice and fish. Understandably, these two items figure the prominently in the menu of even for poor Bengalis. Fishing has always been an important occupation and Bengali literature contains several references to fish. The Brahmanas are not allowed to eat non-vegetation food, but popularly the fish in the local diet made in the Brahminical authority relaxed the prohibition for the Bengal Brahmanas. The Pratharma Purna and 13th century Sanskrit texts from Bengal permitted the local Brahmanas to eat the certain varieties of fish. Fish being dressed for the domestic consumption, terracotta plaque from the Vaishnava temple and Harmat